Not at all.
Let me know when you have speed.
Okay, we have, oh, wait a minute.
Right, he wants levels,
We
right?
have speed anytime you're ready.
Okay, great. We're here today with Mick Fleetwood to talk about Fleetwood, my life and adventures in Fleetwood Mac. How are you today?
Good.
Now, almost 3 decades of Fleetwood Mac. You sort of defined the phrase sex, drugs, and rock and roll, didn't you?
I suppose so. People it definitely is all-encompassing in this book, yes.
Why did you write the book?
I was asked to write a book about Fleetwood Mac, and then felt that I'd kept a journal of sorts, and the thoughts excited me. And I said, well, I would like to write about my family, about the way I was brought up, which is all part and parcel of this thing you see sitting here. And it was a great experience. I recommend it.
You were born in Cornwall, in England?
Mm-hmm.
Country boy?
Not a country boy, no. I've never lived anywhere more than about 3 years. I was a forces brat. My father was in the Royal Air Force, and as such we moved, every 2-3 years.
Did you drive your mom crazy beating on pots and pans?
I was relegated to the attic when I eventually got my first little drum kit. And no, they were very tolerant and very encouraging, actually.
How did you get into music? What was your first...
I just played to records, and how people ask, why did you, become a drummer? It was something that just I always wanted to do. Came from up there. I found out after my father passed away. My mother gave me a picture of my father in Royal Air Force uniform playing a drum kit, which I never knew he did. I did know, however, that my father had not only lyrically a great sense of rhythm, he wrote a lot, and but at parties he would play glasses and things, with different levels of water, and then always the money in the pockets. So he did have a great sense of rhythm, so maybe it's in the genes there.
I was going to say it has to be genetic. I mean, your dad was on the road, you're on the road. Dad played drums, you played...
A little bit of it, yeah, maybe.
Now, got 11 personnel changes, divorces, religious cults, bankruptcy. Incredible odds to staying together. What's the key?
I think a very simple desire, for speaking for myself, to do something I love to do. This is literally a dream come true for a drummer boy. In fact, my father wrote a poem that I put in the book called 2 Sticks and a Drum, and that is what it's all about. I am doing exactly what I wanted to do, and I still am. And a drummer needs a band to play with. I can't go and sit in my front living room and, I can, but it's not exactly the thing to do. You need people around you. I love to have people around me as a person, and inherently a drummer can't play without anyone else, so I'm sort of set up.
Aren't drums like the basic tracks when you start an album?
Oh, very much so, yeah.
So therefore you're sort of like the glue that holds the whole thing together.
The rhythm section is the glue that holds the thing together. If you have a bad rhythm section, which happens from time to time, if you are under the weather or you screw up, the band feels it, most definitely.
Now you were with Mayall and the Blues
Breakers.
Blues Breakers, that's right. That's where you got your start? Is that your first major...
That was my first big, quote, break. I'd been in many bands before that. I was in a band for a little over 2 years with Rod Stewart. It was a sort of a show band. We did a show review, did a lot of Sam and Dave stuff. There was a girl singer out the front with Rod, and the band was like the third part of the show. So I'd done lots of different things before that. Backed the Ronettes on one of their tours with the band that I was in. But John Mayall was the first sort of oh, this is quite something, you know.
Is he still living in Laurel Canyon?
Yes, he is.
Used to be a neighbor.
Yeah, well, his house burnt down. He rebuilt it.
Yeah, that fire missed mine.
Yeah.
Barely.
Whoa.
Working with spouses, what's the best part?
Well, I've never worked with a spouse.
Or lovers?
Lovers. The best part, well, most of the love affairs in this band disintegrated. I don't blame it on the band, because I truly feel, I will talk about myself and Stevie and my relationship that we had, love affair. But John and Chris, I think they would have separated anyhow. Stevie and Lindsay, most definitely, but the band became the catalyst for really ending it, because you're living together on top of each other literally day and night, and so that did that in. But my relationship with Stevie in the band was very private. Really no one knew about it. Very few people knew about it. And that's the way we chose to keep it. And it was hot and feverish for about a year. And we were very much in love. And we just were too wild to be together. You know, just too much going on. And then I met Sarah, my now wife, anyhow.
Does it help the creative process?
It has done, yeah. Absolutely. We've I think most certainly had our mileage out of that. The Rumours album itself was a document of what was going on, quite literally. I mean, they were talking to each other through their songs.
Wild.
Some of it backbiting, some of it pleasant, some of it hopeful. Don't Stop was written by Christine for John. You know, just don't give up, although you're very unhappy that we're not together. It's not all over. And, you know, they're wonderful friends now.
You've been fairly monogamous in your life.
Yeah.
What is the relationship? You had a phone relationship?
Yeah.
Fascinating. How did that happen? How did it start?
It happened, that relationship came about. I got a phone call in a strange little hotel outside of New Orleans, which was near the gig. Wasn't even a planned, we just was staying over just to brush up before we went on stage. God knows how she got the number. Phone rings, my friend Dennis, my now manager, picks up the phone, said, sounds like a bit of crumpet here, and handed me the phone. I started talking to her. And immediately, this rapport was just wonderful voice, absolutely wonderful voice. And said, I said, well, would you like to come to the concert? She said, oh, I'd love to. I said, well, bring some friends, and you're welcome to. So we gave them backstage passes, and the friends turned up, met them afterwards, 3 or 4, 2 guys and 2 girls, and said, thanks very much. But she's left. I said, oh, what a shame. And so, but they said she left her number. So, of course, when I got back to New Orleans, I rang her up. I said, we're having a band party. Would like to come tonight. She somehow found a reason not to come to the party, and it went on like this and that. And I went on the road, and I kept ringing her. I said, I want to meet you, because we were getting on great. And I was going out with Sarah at that point, and our relationship had been on and off through the years. And I suddenly realized that I was really falling for this woman. Absolutely. I mean, if you like, I fell in love with her brain. And it turned out to be a crazy one. She had three voices she used on the phone. And she knew anything and everything, because people in the band would say, oh, Mick, you know, it's probably the Blob, you know, some unfortunate person that, you know, is not together. So I had this tucked away in the back of my mind, but I continued because I was absolutely enthralled. And I confess, I fell in love over the phone. And I told Sarah, bless her heart, and she thought I completely lost the biscuit. But that happened, and it went on for 11 months, until eventually I found out through a secret agent who she was. She was a rather large lady that worked at a post office, and had a very frugal job, but her whole persona, to me, she was educated in Switzerland, she had wonderful handwriting, parchment paper, envelopes. She had it down to the point where several of my friends were also sucked in, completely convinced, to a point where a friend of hers came to Los Angeles, very well-to-do young man, had his own limousine, stayed at a L'Hermitage hotel where we were staying, and I said, tell me now, you know, Whitney, is this for real? And he said, oh yeah. I said, because it's getting too much. I mean, I can't meet the woman. Does she exist? Is she who she says she is? Oh yeah. He comes to the concert. It was months after that. Eventually my secretary said, Mick, you've got to just find out. So I asked the promoter down there, and he's in with the local police, and they found out. And I phoned her up and said, the game's up, love. And I think you ought to have treatment. And if I wasn't the sort of person that I am, you could really hurt other people. I could be really hurt about this. And never asked for any money. Just, I have a feeling that she might have been involved in some sort of stingy operation, and she quite literally got caught up with me. And we just had this endless...
Did you ever get a feeling of black magic?
No, it was just totally enthralling.
Or the occult?
No, I didn't. It was just always very exciting, always very informative, obviously very well read. And I would ask questions as if she'll slip up on this one, because it got ridiculous towards the end. And we would talk for hours. And I know a fair bit about cars, and I said, she had this Aston Martin that she said she had, right? A DB6. So I thought, I'll ask you, and she said, oh, I'm having trouble, the chauffeur's not getting it serviced properly. I mean, it's just unbelievable stuff, And then you get the black lady Louisiana accent, in the back, going, oh, no. Saying, come on, Winnie, you gotta get on time, dinner's ready. And I'm listening to all this, and it's all perfect. And I asked her about some parts in the engine, because she was talking about this car, and I thought, I'll ask her where the dials are and what make and everything. She had everything down. Whatever I brought up, that's why I said she had to be incredibly well read, highly intelligent, but tragic.
Never occurred to you that she could be dangerous to you?
It did afterwards. When the chips were down, so to speak, I said, I would like you to go, and I'll pay for it, to go and have treatment, because you shouldn't, and please, you must stop doing this, because if you're doing it to other people, it can be very damaging, and it wasn't until a few years later, about 3 years later, I was looking through an old address book, and I saw her number, and I thought, I'll ring it. And I rang, and it was an answering machine, obviously her voice. And then Paul Simon came on. Still crazy after all these years. I didn't leave a message. Put the phone down. That's the Blob.
The Blob. Now, is the band breaking up? There's all the rumors. What's
Yeah.
really going on?
The band is not breaking up. What is happening, we're finishing this tour, which has lasted now about 10, 11 months. December 7th, Pearl Harbor Day. The girls, Stevie and Christine, that will be their last concert with Fleetwood Mac. This is what they have said, so there's no hype in terms of, oh, let's say, and then we get back together. My understanding is this is absolutely is what is happening. They're open to making the next album with the band, which to me doesn't make a hell of a lot of sense, because it's, why? Because we can't work, and it's sort of a bit transparent in terms of the public. You know, to make an album but not really be a band doesn't smell quite right to me. But they are willing to do that, and so there's a lot of serious thought to be done. Billy Burnett and Rick Vita, John McVie and myself, the four guys, have no intention of stopping, and we will be in the studio 6 months after we finish this tour.
Now, Milli Vanilli this morning, what in the world do you say about that? What do you think about a band that says that they're singing and then gets a Grammy and doesn't tell anybody?
Not too much. I thought it was somewhat public knowledge that that was known anyhow. I mean, a lot of this stuff, taping stuff, goes on. I think it's proper that an audience should know, and my God, the whatever it is, the committee, the Grammy committee, whatever they call it, should have known. It's a bit of a mockery, really.
What about
I wish them all the best. That they're dancers. It's theatre. There's nothing wrong in it, but there is an element which is pretty dumpy that I don't like. That, you know, this is all transpired and come out now. It's sort of pathetic.
Be honest about it if that's what it is.
Yeah.
Now, obscenity, the furor over the obscenity movement as it is, how would Fleetwood Mac have worked in if that were the rage when you started? You're a pretty wild group.
Yeah, never on records or anything like that, but in the pubs, oh yeah, we were pretty filthy. Not every night, you know, it wasn't part of, well, a lot of nights. But that was just a bunch of young lads having fun. I look at it, people, I have no objection to people doing anything they want to do, quite frankly. I think if parents aren't functioning as parents, then they're screwing up. You know, if they don't want their children to be a certain way, help them be another way. I don't think, how would we have fared in this day and age? Had we been exposed for what we were doing? Never worse. I don't know. We got away with it.
Different
we
era.
weren't famous.
Yeah, makes a difference.
No. I think had we been famous, we probably would have thought twice about pulling out dildos and flying them around on stage.
So we can read more about this in your book?
Oh, Harold's definitely in there. In fact, at a concert the other night, a last concert, they often hold up, you know, plaques for, you know, Chris or Stevie, especially Stevie, and there was this one plaque. This girl had a big thing. Said, "Does Harold still live?" And I saw it, and I was just walking off stage during one of the encores. I thought, I've got to stop and go back, you know, and acknowledge that I've seen it. So I went up to the microphone and I said, Harold's alive and well. And he is. He's in the bottom of one of my drum cases.
Great. Well, we look forward to reading about all of your experiences. Tell us, what do you think about satellite touring? You know the road, you know satellite. What's it like? What's the difference?
Doing this?
Uh-huh.
I've done it before.
Do you like it?
Yeah, I think any sort of communication I like. I mean, I like I write in the book, I have a learning problem, disability with reading things. That freaks me out.
Dyslexia?
Talking, yeah.
Yeah.
Talking doesn't. I love it. I love to do interviews. You know, I mean, I actually enjoy it rather than, oh God, here we go, another one. So, and I think it's anything that perpetuates communication in the proper fashion and used properly, like this hopefully is being, unless I'm just that boring, it's not worth putting on, is really healthy.
Yeah. Well, thank you for joining us. I really appreciate it. You want to check tape?
Okay.